May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in the Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. All right. Shalom, family. How's everybody doing? Prayerfully, you all are doing well. Thank you for being on. Barakallah Sham Yahweh. Shalom. And I Kofi, head of Servants of Christ. Mashalom. Hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor of Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. Hopefully, you're all doing very well. Hello, how's everybody doing? Come on in, come on in. Everybody on TikTok, YouTube, how you doing, Sister Tori? How you doing, Ratchet? How you doing, Steven? Aman, how you doing, Darius? Everybody who's coming on, whether you're watching this live or watching this later on, we give all honor and praise to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We're thankful and grateful to everybody who supports her. And come on in. How's everybody doing? Come on. I hope you guys are feeling well, doing well. To the moderators, we bow down to you. Thank you so much for what you're doing and your presence here. Uh-oh. Issues with spelling tonight. We thank you guys once again. Come on in. How's everybody doing? Excited to spend some time with you one more again. How you doing, Sister Nadine? MIT Steven. Appreciate you guys. Let's see. Alrighty. Excited to spend some time again. So tonight we're going to talk about, I just did that wrong. I'm about to edit it. All right. Crime is a symptom. How you doing, Coco? How you doing, Winetta? Excuse me. We got a Juanetta and a Winata. All right. I got to remember which one is which. How you doing, Romac? How you doing, Sister Stella? Everybody, how you doing? So tonight we're going to talk about crime is a symptom. I was going to call it something different. The Holy Spirit told me to change it. Country girl, I'm sorry. I'm trying to call you the wrong name. Help me out again. I'm so sorry, sis. I still don't have the name and the TikTok name together. I'm trying to call you Valisa. I know that's not right. Even though there's a Valisa that lives, or at least that was part of what we were doing, that lives in your area. Or lived in your area, not sure. How you doing, Sister Keita? How you doing, Brother Keith? I keep trying to call you Sister Felisa, and y'all even kind of favor a little bit too, but I know that's wrong. I know Country Girl we just met up to, which makes it even worse. Forgive me. I'm gonna get it. It's gonna come to my brain one of these days. How you doing, Sister Tamaya? How you doing, Brother Keith? But we thank you guys for being on. And so once again, we're talking about crime as a symptom. Now, I was going to call this something slightly different, but I'm going to be obedient to the Holy Spirit and say crime is a symptom, right? But I like the way the Holy Spirit kind of governed the conversation and took over as far as even the theme or what we would use as a motif to keep on reminding ourselves what we're talking about. How you doing, Sister Helen? How you doing, Brother Alton? Is that we know that crime is a symptom, but when you talk about symptoms are just like, when we say crime is a symptom, when we're talking about symptoms, you got to realize that symptoms are pretty much like when you're dealing with, what is I'm looking for? Like, when you go to the doctor or when you get sick and you go and you get over-the-counter medicine and the doctor just says, take 2 aspirin or something like that. A lot of times they're just dealing with the symptoms. That's not actually what your problem is, right? If you have a headache, we're probably dealing with dehydration, blood flow issues, things like that. Maybe just stress or a combination of those things, right? But you take 2 aspirin and then the doctor says, call me in the rising, right? So, but oftentimes you're dealing with the symptom. If you have a cough, the cough is something attached to a symptom. If you have mucus issues in any place, if you have and hey, how you doing, babe? My wife is on the Honorable Maya. As always, please check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. So as we're talking about tonight, crime is a symptom. So let's say you have mucus issues, if you have sinusitis, that means that you have too much mucus build up here, right? If you have arthritis, you have too much mucus build up in your joints. If you have, and it's not always as simple as that, right? But I mean, for the most part, that's what we're talking about. If you're dealing with like sinusitis, we're dealing with like too much mucus built up. Now, why is the mucus building up? Because you actually have an issue in that area of the body. How you doing, Sister Deja? And since you have an issue there, the mucus is trying to build up to do what? To make sure that it catches what's there and ultimately can get it to ooze out of the body, out of some orifice, right? But that's what we're dealing with, right? Sometimes even when you have wax buildup or something like that, you might have a lot of wax buildup due to the fact that, you might have a lot of wax buildup due to the fact that, there's something in your ear that needs to be dealt with, whatever, right? So when we're talking about this stuff and we're dealing with these items, we want to talk about that these things are a symptom, right? These things are a symptom, and we're not really seeing that there, but I want to talk about crime as a symptom. Because just like symptoms, a lot of people just get over-the-counter medicines, or the doctors don't really take care of you or your what's actually dealing with you. We're taught to mask the symptom, but not actually deal with the issue. We're taught to mask the effect, or talk poorly about the effect, or talk about how we can make sure that we push through the effect, but we never talk about the cause of the effect. The same way that your cough is a symptom, your mucus is a symptom, your bloodshot eyes are a symptom, usually of you being dehydrated or tired, but you take Visine or something like that, or you might have issues with acne and things that it might mean that your body's just not your waste, your food's not being digested, so it's trying to come out of different parts of the body, including orifices like the skin. How you have like orifices in your skin, so your skin can breathe and hair can come out and all these different things. But we will do all this stuff to mask the symptom. We'll even put makeup over a blemish rather than make sure that we deal with why is the skin, the biggest organ in the body, having failure, right? If you have polyps, if you had something on an organ, right? If you had something going on in the organ, if you had some kind of weird hair, weird bump growing on your liver or something like that, you would say that that's bad. But you have it growing on your skin, or you have something popping up on your skin, you might try to cover it with makeup rather than actually say, well, wait a minute, maybe it's not. We don't need to cover it up. Maybe we need to figure out why the largest organ in your body, your skin, is having issues, right? We don't think about it that way, but that's what we should do. Well, the same thing happens with crime. Right? Crime is a symptom. Crime is not your problem. Crime is not your cause, rather. Crime is problematic because you don't like that symptom. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? How you doing, Sister Deborah? How you doing, Truth? And so, like we do with a lot of different things, the symptom of crime happens, and we get a bunch of stuff to mask the symptom rather than make sure we actually deal with what's causing the crime. Right? There's more money in making sure that you buy Tylenol and Advil and aspirin and different versions of aspirin, and making sure that you get Theraflu and NyQuil and all these different things, and Dayquil and etc. There's more money in masking symptoms than there is in healing them. Well, crime is a symptom, right? Is there more money in stopping crime, or is there more money in continuing crime? Matter of fact, there's not. If we want to go deeper. How you doing, Brother Allen? Yeah, medical witchcraft, right? If we want to go deeper, and we should, praise Yah. I'm gonna try to be careful tonight because I know there's people who don't like what we're talking about on here, and how dare I tell people the truth and things like that. I get it, but if we want to go deeper and we want to be a little more honest, for real, let's keep it a buck. If there's more money in you remaining sick and just taking things to mask symptoms, and guess what? There's also more money in. Guess what they have to do to make sure that you continue to mask symptoms? They have to come up with new versions or new ways of misdiagnosing what you're going through. Right? If we want to make sure that we continue to mask symptoms, that we have to come up with new diagnoses, new ways to diagnose, and new things to call it. How you doing, Sister Toya? Right? If we want to keep telling you, right, like for example, Why does nobody ever told you that if you see itis basically at the end of any word that they're giving you medically, they're just saying there's too much mucus going on. If there's too much mucus going on, we could deal with turmeric and make sure that you have some black pepper, that we can make sure that the turmeric and black pepper, the black pepper activates the turmeric, and then we know how to eat, tell you what to eat to make sure it goes to that place. You could start where you could really make sure, especially preemptively, you don't have to worry about certain things that are going to pop up later on in your life, such as arthritis or sinusitis. Or what about if we have you eat portobello mushrooms? Now, I know some people don't like mushrooms, but just hear me out, because portobello mushrooms are going to deal with the mucus. So if we're having stuff that's dealing with the mucus, then we are going to have some things that are going to be dealing with other things, right? It's going to cause other effects. So if we know what mucus is dealing with, as far as like a lot of issues that you're having is because due to mucus buildup, then we should make sure that we keep your mucus level down. And then that way, a lot of issues that you're having aren't going to be there, right? Well, the same thing with crime. Right. But we have to misdiagnose it. So we tell you it's this itis. We don't tell you that it's mucus buildup. We tell you that you must take this medicine. We don't tell you that, you can just eat things or live a certain lifestyle. We tell you that you have vitamin D defect and you don't have enough vitamin D, which many people don't because they just don't go into the sun. So since you don't go, rather than say go into the sun and stay there 30 minutes a day if you can, and make sure you take your shoes off and stand in the grass. And if you're feeling depressed, put your hands up in the air in this, what people call the victory pose, and keep it there long enough, rather than make sure that we talk about that or tell you that or show you that that's a possibility. What do? We say things that don't even make sense. Like, human beings are the only animal. They try to call us mammals, but if you want to say that you're mammalian, okay, so you're the only mammal that continues to drink, really the only animal, period, the only insect. Even insects don't really do what I'm about to say, but you're the only animal, the only mammal specifically, right? Because mammals do this, that actually continues to try and look for milk to drink after you've been weaned from the mother. But we'll say, hey, you don't get enough sunlight, so what we're going to do is we're going to say drink milk, and we're going to put vitamin D in the milk. Why don't you just go in the sun? As a matter of fact, depending on what time of day you go in the sun, if you want to go in the sun multiple times, you can get different minerals just by standing in the sun, right? That would help with some of the vitamin D defect. A lot of stuff that you're dealing with would start going away. Somebody says, I'm having problems digesting, or I have allergic reactions to this or that or whatever. We could say, make sure you eat some raw foods. Which, by the way, Sister Judith is going to be ready to go to. So if you want to prepare some stuff, she's going to tell us what to make sure that you can prepare. And if you like to prepare it the night prior, you might have to soak some stuff on Thursday, and then Friday after the live sessions, we'll make sure that Sister Judith can come on and she can start doing a live session regularly on YouTube for you all. Anybody who might want to go ahead and do the meals and stuff with her with raw foods, because when you're cooking your food, and raw food, by the way, basically is just anything that's under 110 degrees. Is it 120 or 110? Let's just say 110 to be safe. How you doing, Sister Irena? Prayerfully you're feeling better and everything's been working well. All right. Yeah. And people get more money in pills, drugs, yet the sunlight is free. Right. And by the way, you get hooked on the drugs because, purple drink and stuff like that. People get hooked on it. Or some people like to take Tylenol because you get hooked on it. Okay. Thanks, babe. Yeah. So it's less than 110 degrees. So, it's just a lot of different things that we need to be aware of. And so Sister Judith is going to teach about that, right? But raw foods are important because you go above 110 degrees, and what happens is you start cooking the enzymes out. So if you're having problems with digestive issues, then that might just be because everything that you eat is not really as digestible as it could be, because whenever you eat something, it comes with an aid to digest. You need not only the enzymes that are in your body, but you also need enzymes to come inside your body with the food that you're eating. And guess what? So think about it. If I'm eating an apple, the apple has enzymes that are designed to break down the apple once eaten, which means that once I eat the apple has specific enzymes to help me break down the food I'm eating. If I'm eating a banana, the banana has specific enzymes to help me break down a banana. If I'm eating a tomato has specific enzymes to help me break down a tomato, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So if I'm going to eat certain things, especially things that are harder to digest, like you can't digest all of this food I'm about to say, but if I were to eat broccoli comes with certain enzymes. It's already difficult enough to be able to digest. So if I'm going to eat, you probably shouldn't try to eat the whole broccoli, obviously, not, only certain parts of the stem. But if you're going to eat, the bushy part, It comes with certain enzymes to help you to be able to digest. These are things that come, but we cook it out of the food. How you doing, Sister Nadine? And when we cook the things out of the food, what goes on? We cook those things out the food, and so now I can't digest the stuff that actually was supposed to help me to digest. The enzymes have been broken down, and while some might kind of come together a little bit, at the end of the day, I've actually messed up the way that Yah made it when He cooked it with the sun. Right? So I'm saying that there are certain things that we should eat or realize or do that are going to literally be able to heal the body, right? But we're cooked the enzymes out, and so rather than just tell us these things, once again, I have to misdiagnose it. I have to call it something different, or I have to say that it's something that's not curable. And by the way, this is for educational purposes only. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse or anything like that. But I will tell you that these are things that you can look up to see if there's actually any warrant to this stuff. Okay? Just have to make sure that that's made plain. So we're saying all those things to say this, that when you're so busy messing around and cooking the stuff out and doing all this or whatever, you can be eating something but not actually doing anything that's going to cause your body to get what's necessary to digest to be able to heal. So a lot of us, we still want to make sure that we're eating a lot of stuff that we cook. And I'm not saying we can't cook it all, but we eat way more stuff that is above 110 degrees than we do at 110. Right? If you're eating meat, obviously you got to make sure you cook it through, right, for other reasons and other things that come on the meat. But if you're talking about fruits and vegetables, right, things that are natural, herbs, etc., you don't have to put it over 110 degrees. And if you even use blender, stuff like that, the Sister Judith was teaching on Saturday. She was showing how you can even feel it get warm, but it's not going to go above 110 degrees, right? 100. If you touch something 100 degrees, it's going to, right? If somebody has a fever and you touch them, right, and you're supposed to be at 98.6 and you get to be 100, we can feel the difference. If somebody's at 104, they feel like they're burning up, right? So you can tell, so the stuff does get cooked, does get heated up, but we're putting stuff in our bodies that our bodies, like if your body was and Sister Judith said to me this way, my wife has said it to me many times, by the way, and she's taught it in classes and stuff. And I was even telling her, as Sister Judith was talking to us before we had her go on the live, I was telling her that she teaches us a lot of herbalism. And I was saying, some of these things that Sister Judith was telling us on Saturday, where Sister Judith, was telling us on Saturday, like be careful about a lot of this stuff. Be careful about, like if a human being, if they go past a certain temperature, you would not be here. Right? What'd you say, babe? You said most people are walking around with swollen intestines, starving while eating. Yeah. So there's certain things like you wouldn't, have a human being, go past a certain point or have them at a certain temperature, right? They would expire. But we put all this food at places where we know it would expire. It would pass away, or it would not be able to live. And then we want to take things that are not alive and put it in our bodies, and then we're expecting certain results. So those things being said, now let's go back to what the theme is for tonight, because the theme for tonight is that crime is a symptom. And we're trying to eat of things and look for all this stuff and vote for people who are supposedly going to help us to be able to fix crime. And the reality is, like, these people are not really trying to help you out as far as taking care of the crime, because crime is a symptom. If you took care of the things that cause crime, you wouldn't see crime pop up that much. And that's ultimately the purpose of tonight's discussion, is to remind you that crime is a symptom. And you can listen to people try to give you every excuse for why this and your people ain't this and black people do this but crime is a symptom. How you doing, Brother TJ? It is a symptom. If people who rob places, I don't care if you robbing places, real big, or you robbing for a bag of chips, it's usually a symptom of the fact that you need to provide or that you don't have food. And if we took care of the cause, we probably wouldn't deal with the crime. And just as the same way that we would ask the question, well, doctor, if somebody's dealing with something, if they're sick, if they have dis-ease, and the body is fearfully and wonderfully made and it can heal itself, you can't heal it. You say modern medicine can't heal it, but the body is designed to be able to heal itself. You are a miracle, especially concerning modern science. You can heal yourself. Your body can heal itself. It's just waiting on you to treat it correctly. and let it do what it's fearfully and wonderfully made to do. If we would address the doctor and say, doctor, why is it that you won't let the body heal itself, and you say the body can't heal itself, and you keep giving us stuff to mask symptoms but not deal with the actual issue? Then I would ask you, why don't we go to society and start asking questions like this? Well, society, governments, councilwoman, etc. Why is it that you guys won't deal with the problem? You're dealing with the symptom, but not the cause. Right? How you doing, Minister Tamar? How you doing, Sister Sierra? Why is it that you would deal with the symptom and not the cause? That's exactly right. Because just like medicine is a business to keep symptoms masked but never heal, right? Crime is a business, right? And so they do things to make sure that they mask the symptom, but they never heal the actual cause. Crime is the effect. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. used to teach that looting is the language of the oppressed. You oppress somebody long enough, don't be surprised when they loot things. If you take away watch this, until the 1980s, and we're still, whether we're in marriages or not, in the United States of America, our diaspora is still the number one group of persons who take care of their children, whether they're married or not. Now, I'm not saying we batting 1,000, but I'm saying we're still the number one. I know you probably don't think that because we've been told that black men this, black men that. I grew up hearing all this about black men that was raised by a father and had fathers that watched over us, the community, and all that stuff. And when I went and I hung out with using colonial constructs and social constructs here, when I hung out with my white friends, more of them didn't have their fathers in their lives. But I grew up thinking that there was a black problem and never thought it was a white problem, even though we were number one, right? And still are concerned in making sure that we take care of our children, are involved in our children's lives. All that being said, though, let's go back to this now, right? Even though we're number one in that, we do have some issues, and we started, but do you not know until the 1980s? So this is recent times. I know people think 1983 was a long time ago. It's just 40 years. 40 years is not that long ago, okay? And in the 1980s, that was when we finally stopped having fathers in the home regularly, as far as more than not, as far as at least 50%. And it had been going down. See, even in times of Jim Crow and stuff like that, we still had 80%, 70%. Husbands and wives staying together, fathers still in the house. I know people want to tell you that everybody was broken up and nobody was staying together and everybody was getting divorces. No, like we still had a great success rate of fathers being in the home. We still had that, and it started going down, and it wasn't until the 1980s. Now, what happens in the 1980s? Just question for you. What do you think happened in the 1980s that caused fathers to not be in the house and mothers to really start having to turn to feminism and have to really turn into the Willie Lynch stuff and say that I'm just going to depend straight on the government no matter what, and I'm going to put my father behind me? Welfare programs, but and by the way, I'm with you, right? But even that's in effect, right? Even that's a symptom, right? And there was something that happened, but there was a symptom that happened, and then we got to go to the cause of the symptom. Drug epidemic, crack. Now, who put crack in the streets? I know crack existed before the 1980s, but I'm talking about who went to every major city, which is where you happen to live, and made sure that crack was put there. Not cocaine, even though sometimes cocaine made its way through there, but cocaine is too expensive for the average person. So they had to dumb it down and make it crack. Yes, all of that. Ronald Reagan approved it. George Bush, former CIA operative, former head of the CIA, approved it. They talk about Rick Ross as if Rick Ross was just getting direct connection with these people. Rick Ross was getting connection through the government. Your people who made a bunch of money overnight off of crack, right? They did that due to the fact that the United States government did that. They stepped in. Yep, hand delivered it. Told them where to get it. Told them how much they need to sell. Subsidized. Taught people. Gave them weapons. and then look the other way. Right. So somebody will say that, well, see, there's crime going on, but see, the crime, there's a cause to it. See, we got to ask ourselves, what was the cause of it? See, don't just tell me about the symptom and try to mask the symptom. If we give them AA, right? If we give them, the new, not the Alcoholics Anonymous, but if we give them affirmative action, it'll change things. And then we'll get mad at them that we had to give them affirmative action, even though we want to admit that the people who benefit from affirmative action more than anybody else are white women. Oh, yes, they are. Do your research. Go see if I'm lying. Right? The people who benefit from that is white women more than anybody else. Well, black people this and black people need affirmative action. And what if I do blah, blah, whatever? Affirmative action is the reason why white people get to go to black colleges. What are you talking about? It works both ways anyways. But see, you're so caught up on that and you haven't realized that you're talking about symptoms, but you're not talking about the effect. The effect is that the government, right? The government's not going to deal with the effect, which is racism, which is dehumanizing people, which is telling people that they can't be who Yah has called them to be, which is telling them they can't be Israel. We'll go ahead and let people who aren't Israel say they're Israel. We'll go ahead and let we'll go ahead and let modern Israelites go ahead and take over hip hop and dehumanize people on a grand stage. But you better not say that they're not great people when they do it. I didn't say all modern Israelites. I said certain modern Israelites. And you know I'm not lying. But the reason you don't want to hear it is why? The reason you're not trying to hear it is not because I'm lying or because I'm saying something you don't like. The reason you don't want to hear it, well, it's partially that, but the reason you want to hear it is because you've been taught to mask symptoms. You don't want to actually heal anything. How you doing, Sister Sage? If I didn't say so already. You're not trying to heal anything. Matter of fact, doctors are not allowed to say that they cure. Right. But I'm tired of going through ailment and not having something to cure what ails me. Because if it doesn't cure, if I mask what ails me, then I'm still going to go through ailing every day. I might as well get it cured or find out how the body can cure itself. And since you don't want to cure our body or our community or our diaspora, maybe we should go ahead and let you go ahead and stay on the sideline. Have you ever asked yourself, how is it that you can have so many police officers in our neighborhoods and in our cities and marking us to make sure that they're looking at us first before they look at others? How can they make sure that they choke somebody out because they're trying to sell loose cigarettes, selling some loosies, selling singles on the corner? How are you going to choke them out and arrest them because they're selling Newports without your permission? But Newports kill more people than Newports kill more people than heart attacks. And you never had a problem with a Newport until somebody else was doing it. Getting mad at them for selling, and look, I'm not saying that they should be selling it, but hear what I'm saying, right? You get mad at the people that are selling dope in our community, but you get mad at them. But you guys just relabel dope as something else and you sell it as medicine. Because they're not concerned, right? Crime is a symptom. It's a symptom that's being masked. There's too much money that's made off of crime. This is why we have to start separating ourselves. This is why we have to start building our own communities. This is why we have to start doing business with each other. There are too many finances in crime. There's too much money in it. It just is what it is. There's too much money in crime. It is what it is. Have you ever thought about the fact that if I go to a small town in Alabama, I go to a small town in Georgia, I go to a small town in Mississippi, there's no jobs there? Not really. But you know what's there? There's a prison. Yep, just like the homeless. How you doing, Sister Marcia? There's no jobs, but there's a prison. Now, how do you think that prison runs and operates? I might have to have a 70, 80, 90+% rate of making sure that it's filled. He said there's money in every form of discipline. That's why they take away disciplinary actions. Yeah. See, watch this to even expound upon that. When the people the COs, the correctional officers in the prison, they're not only all friends, but they're family. Yep. And ultimately that removes from the parental guidance. Right. But when I'm talking about the prisons, watch this, they're family. They have a family dynamic in the people who are making sure they watch over the slaves. So if you go to a prison, you got to be careful how you treat the CO, the correctional officer. Why? Because the correctional officers, they all live in that same small city. And dad started off working there. And when dad got older, he made sure his sons had jobs. And you better be careful how you treat his son, or else dad will come in later on during the day and they might, whip you until your heart doesn't beat anymore, or your brain doesn't act right, or you can't digest, or they might put you in a freezer. We just heard about that. One of the people we're going to be helping and putting their information out about to help to start putting word out about making sure that we're helping people in prisons is somebody who came from who is in the same prison right now for something that he didn't do and is dealing with that very situation, or not dealing with that, but basically the person who that happened in his prison. Had him telling me the details from the inside of the prison. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's real. See, when you hear from the list of the people that know the people and saw how they treated them, and see, if you mess with somebody's son, then their father's right there. And you mess with somebody's father, eventually, you mess with the father and the son, eventually the grandfather of the son that you messed with initially, he's been in there for years and years and years under there. He's gotten to a higher level. So he'll make sure that the stuff that happens, nobody will ever even know about. Your family will never know about. Matter of fact, you might not ever be seen again. And who can say anything? I'm sorry, you said, at the time our children reach the third grade, they know how many prisons they need to build? I mean, if you put that stuff together, yeah. It's prison to pipeline. It's school to prison pipeline. I'm sorry, school to pipeline. In prison, you have bells. In schools, you have bells. In prisons, you have places that you're supposed to sit all day. In school, you're supposed to do the same thing. In prison, you get to go out for a little bit of recess. In school, you get to do the same thing. The same thing that they do in the training you for in the job is the same thing they're training for you for in prison. It's just in prison they're able to go ahead and use certain tactics. But see, prison is family business. First of all, prison's a corporation. So when you allow the prison to be private and to be a corporation, then somebody's making money off the corporation. But they put them in small towns, and then they say, hey, you guys make sure that it's filled up to capacity. If not, we'll if you don't fill it up to the capacity, by the way, we're going to make sure that we tax you guys extra. So, but we say, hey, but we'll make sure you have jobs. There are no jobs out here, so we'll create jobs. We'll continue to have chattel slavery. And if you don't believe it, look up the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment says that as long as we lock you up, as long as you're imprisoned, we can't call you a chattel slave just because of your skin color, but we dang sure can lock you up and make you a chattel slave. And check out what happens when you have all these forest fires that happen in California. Well, everybody's in California saying, I can't breathe. It's so difficult out here. We're thankful for the firefighters. Nobody ever thinks about the slave firefighters who are in prisons, who have been trained to put out those fires and everything, and have to put them out and put them out and put them out, and might get $1 an hour. Slave wages. Which, by the way, they'll be taxed on. And that's a lot, because, a lot of slaves get paid 16 cents an hour, 27 cents an hour, 30-something cents an hour, but they get a whole dollar. And those slaves that are in prison who are now going to put out those fires for you, and a lot of them lose their lives, and you won't hear about it. You'll hear about firefighter so-and-so who lost his life, but you won't hear about slave so-and-so who lost his life. And then let's say he gets out of prison. Let's say he did something, he could have done something he's guilty of. But let's say he gets out and he did something and he's a felon. Guess what he can't do because he's a felon when he gets out of prison? He might have put all your forest fires out, but when he gets out of prison, he can't even be a fireman because he's a felon. Now, when he was a slave, he could put your fires out all day. But now that he's out on the street, they got to make sure he gets back into prison so he can put more fires out as a slave. So they'll let him go ahead and get to a place to where now the atmosphere is set to where he's got to do the same thing that he did to get himself in prison. And if he goes back, hey, well, at least I eat 3 times a day. I mean, it might be prison food, it might be slave food, but hey, at least I eat 3 times a day. At least I've learned how to be an animal. At least every once in a while, they'll let me go out to save other people so that I can go right back in to Massa. And Massa can say, thank you so much for making me all this money. Because Massa has a contract with the state that says that in the state of California, the private prison, Massa has a contract with the state, with the government. Remember, capitalism is defined as when politics and as a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade and industry is wielded by private corporations for profit and not by the state. I'll say it again because I was incomplete with the definition. Excuse me. The definition of capitalism. Capitalism is defined as a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade and industry is wielded by private corporations, by the owners of private corporations for profit and not by the state or the government. In other words, the state is always signed up to the corporation. So don't get it twisted. That's why I don't use AdSense and stuff like that. I don't do advertising outside of making sure that we do stuff within our community and say, hey, look to somebody for business and look for somebody for this. I don't do those things except for on our stuff, on our time. Why don't I do that? Because if I let them advertise, they get to tell me what I can and cannot say. They kind of control it anyways, because this is their platform ultimately, right? But I have more control over what I get to say, especially when I'm the person who, if I don't get any kind of influence or finances from them, which is why they even try to limit how we get our finances. Anybody who goes live will tell you, and I appreciate, look, don't get it twisted. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your love, all that. But yeah, it's always weird. Somebody will be like, oh, you guys are supposed to be preachers, but you are sitting up here with Cash App. Well, I would tell anybody, not just a preacher, anybody who's doing live sessions, if you really are into, instead of putting $20 and giving gifts the whole time, give it to whoever you listen to. It doesn't have to be me, whoever you listen to. If you want to spend $20 to make sure that you can give people gifts, just give them $20 direct on Cash App, because TikTok's taking sometimes 50, 60, 70, 80% of what the person's making. YouTube is paying people pennies. Right? It used to be if somebody made $80 million in selling their record, man, that was a big deal. Now somebody can move what they call 100 million units, so you can get 100 million views on the video. And even though you get 100 million views, they might even give you, something to go platinum and all that stuff or whatever, like they used to. You get 100 million views, and right, you might get paid $100, $200. So why do you think they keep saying come to the concert? They make their money off the concert. They can get 100 million views that they can set up the concert, and you'll go to the concert. So I would suggest anybody who's starting any kind of live session, make sure that you get your stuff together and your stuff in order when people are willing to listen to you. Hey, yeah, please, bare minimum, put your Cash App up. Some of you should be doing things where you're doing meetups all the time. That's what comedians are doing. Comedians try to get out there. Comedians you would have never heard of before. You like them, this and that. They get to a place to where they get like 50,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, stuff like that. Then they start having tours. Because you're not making any money off of social media. Right? But once again, it's the same mindset, right? Like you think that and that's why you got to be careful. There's people out there that get 2 million views and are broke. They get 2 million views per video and can't sustain life. They have to still live in somebody's house. They have to still ask. And look, I'm a Levite. I'm not making fun of it. I'm telling you what it is. You think that this thing is something different than what it is, but it's the same thing with crime. See, they have you under the assumption that the reason why people are in prison is because, that people are bad. There was just a girl, and people are still making fun of her, and she's gonna end up going. And look, I don't know for sure if she did or didn't do it. The girl Carly, whatever her name is, Carly, whatever, we talked about it not too long ago. Carly, whatever, in Alabama, right? We even got family that knows her, or at least knows her people. I don't know if they know her, but Carly, whatever her name is, and everybody's making fun of her, and why isn't she in prison yet, this and that or whatever. And I told you, I'm inclined to believe her story. Now, I don't know if she did it or not. It's between her and y'all. I'm just telling you, there's something in me that says to believe her before I don't believe her. And everybody's saying all this stuff, and it became an argument. And even when she got, if she is making it up, everybody's making a thing. But I'll tell you this, in my family, we've dealt with police officers who literally took I'm not telling you something that's made up. I've talked about my personal story, but let's just go ahead because I was put in prison for something I didn't do and never went before the judge and all that. But I want you to catch something though, right? My family, multiple times with multiple members of my family. So I'm not telling you something that I heard. I'm telling you something that we know, that we had to go through, right? That we still have to be aware of, that we have to be careful about certain things because of the emotional damage. There are people in my family who were taken. They were taken because they wouldn't lie and testify against people in our family that didn't do crime. And literally, they were kidnapped. Now, if you were to ask anybody on paper, they would say that that never happened. But we know it happened. Matter of fact, we had to go to lawyers and ask lawyers in other places, in other states that happened to be friends of other people that we knew, who, because that lawyer was friends with them, they said, okay, I'll do you a solid and I'll tell you how it works. They'll tell you, don't say this, don't do this. You can't come out with this. You're not going to win this and that or whatever. This is what you need to do. We had people that were kidnapped, taken from one place. We had people who went from one state to another, kidnapped the people, right? These are police officers now who left, went from the state that they were in, went to another state, kidnapped the people that they wanted, took them back. I'm not saying because they even did anything wrong, because they spoke against, they wouldn't testify, and basically put them in a place. There's a woman who is one of them, female. They put her in an insane asylum with men and just was like, let the chips fall where they lay, to see if she would be scared into doing whatever they said. There was a woman who they put another person, another family member who they took and literally put her in a situation where her back has never been the same again. They tried to take somebody's child in our family. And try to get the person who took the child, tried to get them to go ahead and just say that whatever they wanted to say. But we had somebody who told them straight up, hey, don't say anything to them, don't do anything. And because they didn't do anything, that's why they were able to get their child back. But all the other people that they did that to, who went ahead and just did whatever the government said, then they took the child anyways and said that you were unfit as a parent. They took the child and then put you in jail for being an unfit parent once they got you to testify on somebody that didn't even do what they were supposed to do. I'm telling you from what's happened. And no, I'm not giving you names because I'm not putting my family business out there, but I promise you I know what I'm talking about. So that's one of the reasons why my family, you tell us about the whole Carly situation, we don't just say, oh, she was just making everything up. And who knows? That's between her and y'all. But that's why I say I'm inclined to believe her. Something happened. And we out here acting like the police don't do this on the regular. We're acting like police officers don't come from slave patrolmen. We're acting like police don't go ahead and hide what they've done and what they haven't done. See, crime is a symptom, though. We don't want to talk about the cause. We don't want to talk about the cause. Oh, there's cause to that effect. Everybody just saying it's simple as she just wanted attention. That's what y'all was saying about too. See, you got to be careful because all these people who are out there talking about Harvey Weinstein, that's what y'all was saying about the women that were telling you how bad the business was and how they had to be on those casting couches. But see, some of y'all don't care. Y'all talk bad about Harvey Weinstein now on them casting couches that existed from the time of Shirley Temple. They existed from the times of Shirley Temple. You talking about Harvey Weinstein. You don't even talk about grown Shirley Temple. Go look up the interview of grown Shirley Temple with what's his face? Older Jewish brother. I can't remember his name. Got hunched shoulders. Larry something. What's his name? Got the big glasses on, the thick glasses, was married to the younger, or married like several times in his life, whatever. Right? But go look at that interview. Shirley Temple interviewed about basically being groomed and stuff that they were doing, and they were trying to get her to drink alcohol and stuff like that, little baby. Talking about Harvey Weinstein and this and that or whatever. You think Harvey Weinstein did that stuff and the police didn't know about it? Larry King, thank you. Yeah. You think You think that stuff was happening? You think children, they make just for educational purposes only. You think that they're making like skin shoes out of babies and nobody knows? You think there was a whole island, Weinstein Island, and everybody was clueless? Do you not know that the people who are bodyguards for your favorite stars all basically either work their real jobs or their 9 to 5s as police officers, or they came out of the police field, SWAT teams, former military, whatever, and then they start. Nobody's just pulling little babies in the rooms and security doesn't know about it. But some of you don't care anyways, because the same people that try to make fun of Harvey Weinstein, the casting couch, guess what? A lot of y'all who can't stand Harvey Weinstein on the casting couch, guess what happens as well? Y'all will watch pornography called the casting couch, to where you are, even though a lot of times it's acting, sometimes it's not. But you can't wait to see Harvey Weinstein or somebody Harvey Weinstein like putting on your favorite porno escape, dream, whatever, so that you can go ahead and see the stuff that you hate Harvey Weinstein doing supposedly, but you can imagine that you're the person doing it to somebody else. Oh, nobody wanted to go there. Oh yeah, we hit somebody right there, but that's real. See, you don't call it a crime, right, when you're thinking about it. But see, that's why Hashvan said, man, if you think it, you already did it. You said it went mute. Hey, maybe I need to be careful then. Thank you for letting me know, right? I won't mention that particular name anymore. Right. Just be careful out here, though. Be careful out here. Mm-hmm. Be careful out here. The symptom, crime is a symptom. They're not trying to take care of what causes the symptom. You know, if you really want to take care of crime, make sure that everybody from the richest to the poorest eats food and has a place to stay. Crime goes away almost overnight. It's that simple. But see, if you did that, that means apartment complexes and housing authorities can't keep lifting up your rent or your mortgage or the price of buying a house to a point to where something to a little house, like, you know, especially those of you who live down south and have been up north, just on the East Coast. Cali is a whole other thing too, right? But on the East Coast, just on the East Coast, if I were to go to Alabama or Georgia or Mississippi for 25,000, maybe I could buy what might cost $3.5 million in Rhode Island. Right? Somebody in Boston, somebody in New York City, whatever the 5 boroughs you want to claim. Yeah, no wonder crime is big over there. Shoot, how much does it cost you for a corner piece of an apartment that's no bigger than a room and a bathroom with a little kitchen kind of thrown in there, if they give you a kitchen? Because they don't have to give you a kitchen to rent it out. Some people paying $2,000 a month for a room. You don't think crime is going to pick up? It's not that hard. Money's not even real anyways. But see, in order to get, the only thing is the illusion of money, is the illusion of power. Yeah, they can raise your rent $550 in a year. They can raise your rent, all type of stuff. Inflation hits every year, and they took the hard cap. There used to be at least a hard cap on inflation that it could only inflate 2% a year. Now it's a soft cap. So technically you can inflate it as much as you want. And if you inflate it too much, if it goes over 6% over that soft cap, well, guess what you can do? Now you can go ahead and you got to pay a penalty. So that means that you got to be penalized, as those of you who are still taxpayers, you got to be penalized even more. Yeah, strategically implemented. They know that crime will increase. And that's the point, right? That's the point, is that when crime increases, that what they make their money off of increases, because they can't enslave you unless you supposedly, even if they make up one, but they can't enslave you unless you commit a crime. So if I commit a crime, or at least I can be proven to be doing one, even if I did one or not, if it can be proven that I committed a crime, well, guess what happens? Well, now I make sure that they meet their quota. You said 700,000 in the South. Well, I don't know what kind, or $700 or 700,000, because I don't know if you got to spend 700,000 to get a basic house. But I mean, if you know what you're doing, you can get some land for $1 and get some land that's tore up that somebody doesn't want it and just rebuild it. Take your time. Right? I'm just saying, you'd be surprised. Right? They're doing this to get you to go towards crime. They're trying to get you to go towards crime. Yeah, I see you, Sister Tori. I got you. They're trying to get you to go towards crime. They're not trying to get you to shy away from it. If we put people in a position to where they have to make criminal decisions, I got them. And they know, and watch this, crime gets people to a place to where parents will look the other way. What you said, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom in Fort Lauderdale, Florida is $2,200, 3-way, mind you, plus rent and security deposit. Yeah. You're looking at symptoms. You're not looking at the cause. Just like they'll give you some aspirin. You know, if you just go to school and get a better education, not mind you that, you might have to go a few $100,000 in debt. But hey, just go to school. Somebody will give you a loan, right? I mean, nobody will tell you that people aren't even that much interested in education as much as they are certification. Are you certified to do what you can do? If you're certified, then people will look the other way because they don't really care about that. Because even if you go to college, even if you go to the best colleges, guess what? Even if you go to the best colleges, it doesn't really matter. Because even when you go to the best colleges, guess what? And all you're going to the best college, you still going to have to be trained. If you're somebody who's got the training, it's actually better if you're certified. Yeah, a lot of people like that, Sage. I can't tell you how proud I was when I was able to look at my wife. My wife was able to pay off her student loans. Praise God. Right? Yeah, a loan and a degree. You're right. Because if anything, you would think that if I'm loaning you money, you're gonna loan me a degree, or you're gonna loan me if you loaning me money for a degree, I would hope that means you're loaning me a certain degree of comfortability when it comes to getting hired in my field. Something like that would make a grown woman, grown man go crazy. Right? And you get to a state to where you got a lot of people who are educated. I know they want you to think everybody. There's a lot of people with college degrees in the hood. I won't say a majority, but there's a lot of people with college degrees in the hood. There's a lot of people with college degrees that work at McDonald's. After a while, something snaps and says, "I've been trying to do this, what you guys say is the right way all this time. I'm gonna do something to get where I need to be." Hey, how you doing? Ken, you said certified requires renewals. Degree is captured in time. So I'm saying all that to say, like, this system is set up to where it pushes you towards crime. And you have to have a mindset to not be in the system, right? Or you can be in it, but you can't be of it for sure. You got to start developing and thinking about things in a way that start taking you outside of what they said is righteous. It's not righteous. It's not even right, honestly, but it's not righteous. It's designed, the whole system is designed to drive you towards crime, criminal activity, criminal behavior. We'll put you in a whole bunch of debt. And then while you're in debt, we'll also say that you owe the IRS. We won't teach you if you're gonna still pay taxes. We're not gonna teach you how to make sure that your taxes, that your old taxes, and how to make sure that everything's put in the EIN, and to make sure that you have LLCs and trusts and all types of stuff, and make sure that you use UCC1 to protect yourself against anybody who's coming. So it's first come, first serve concerning your debt, to where you are in debt to yourself. So if you're a slave to anybody, you got to be a slave to you. And if anybody comes looking for your stuff, they can't get it because you're first in line, and you've written it to where you can't pay yourself back. So how are you gonna pay somebody else back? But we're slaves to the system. We're trained to be like that. And when you try to protect yourself, then this is the wild part. They get you to believe that's criminal behavior. This is why we always come back to law. Law doesn't give rights. Law protects rights. You're going to have to learn how to make sure that in a place that's criminal. See, it's criminal. See, this is really how it works. It's criminal for somebody to say that you should live through legalese than to live by common law, actual common law. If you want to get to real common law is only 3 laws. Those 3 laws are as follows. Make sure that you don't harm anybody. Make sure you don't steal from anybody. Make sure you don't lie to anybody. If you can do those 3 things, we shouldn't have a problem. That's the only real laws as far as common law that matters. But you think that statutes and all types of optional things are common law. But see, common law actually is not common sense. It's kingdom sense. See, because if you're dealing with common law, it's not law for commoners. It's something that people who are lords over different areas, they have laws that they live by to make sure those 3 things are taken care of. So somebody made certain things common in all the places that the lords were in so that the kingdom could make sure that it operated under the same law. If you don't know too much more about sovereignty or law, I don't know how much sense that's going to make for me to even expound upon. But trust and believe, there's a difference between law and a statute. A statute is optional. Now, am I saying you shouldn't follow any statutes? Look, for every choice is an invoice. So there's a choice that might make it more difficult for you in life by not listening to a statute. There's a choice that might make it more valuable for you to study a statute. You need to study them. But we don't know UCC codes. We don't know UCC 1, that's protecting yourself, your property. We don't know UCC 1-207 or UCC 1-308 or whatever your state version of these is. By the way, they have state versions of these. But you don't know UCC 1-308, which is protecting your lawful right concerning contracts. You don't know UCC 3-602, 3-603, UCC 3-604. Which are things that protect you as far as making sure that if somebody's trying to bring you into something contractually or trying to do something against you, you can protect yourself. We don't know any of those things. We just know what somebody told you, legalese, and that is unlawful. But you think that because something's legal, it's unlawful. You can legally give up your rights every day. But see, you don't know there's a symptom. Those are symptoms. You thinking you should be giving up your rights and not living as Yah has intended. You think that that's a regular thing. You think that that's a symptom of what? What was the cause of that? Somebody dividing you from yourself. You think that you should tell the judge that you understand what they're saying, when the reality is I don't understand anybody except Yah or those who follow Yah. What does that mean? Legalese is telling you that means you don't understand just anything, because if you stand under anything, then you are under it, right? So you don't understand anything unless it's something of your culture, your value system, your private status, your belief in Yah. And you have every lawful and legal right to do so. That's why they couldn't force you to get a jab. Some people just acquiesce and bow down to it, but they can't force you to do that. But that's crime, but you don't realize that's the effect. Crime is the effect. What is the cause of it? This is law. This is not anything. This is why you're seeing cities. They don't talk about them that much, but you're seeing cities who are saying that we have to pay people back for making it to where we force them to give up their job due to jabs. Somebody says, where at? Well, here's one of the easiest ones, Chicago. You just don't hear about it all over the place, but it's happening. There are people who are walking up in Walmarts. Now, I don't know for sure how this one's working, so take this one with a grain of salt. I'm still working on getting more information on it. But there's people walking up in Walmarts who are shutting Walmarts down in Alabama because it's not legal for them to be giving you the jab. It's happening in Philly too. Okay, I heard some rumblings about it, but I didn't know for sure if it was happening, right? But nobody talking about it. But you have every right. They challenged your rights. They thought they took away your rights, but if you obeyed the law, right, law protects your rights. Right? That Walmart thing, by the way, I'm really trying to find. I saw a video on it, and not regular video, like somebody shared video that's not, you can't find anywhere. And I'm trying to find out who the guy is that I saw. But I mean, the police, he came out there, he served them papers. He tried to serve the pharmacy papers. As soon as the pharmacy saw him, they closed the pharmacy windows down. And then he was sitting up there. He was telling everybody, he was saying that basically people could even be, I don't think it's to the level that he's saying, but I think, but basically he was saying people could be offed if they kept selling the stuff. But bare minimum, they could deal with prison time, jail time, stuff like that. And Walmart would have to deal with the repercussions as well. And then the police, Walmart called the police to try to get them to come over. The guy gave him the paperwork. He said, this is from the judge, served, right? I can serve them this, saying that they need to stop doing this, right? So I'm trying to find more information about that one. I don't know exactly how that's working. I can't really find anything online about it outside of, some very convincing video that I saw and some very convincing paperwork that they show on the video. So, but I'm just trying to tell you, like, you got to realize, like, they're doing criminal behavior all the time and trying to tell you it's a crime. That's what's going on, right? The problem is that you're not even seeing that the criminals are trying to mask crime, not your crime, their crime, ultimately. Right, I got to get ready to take my leave and get ready for marital coaching session, so I'm not going to be on but for a few more minutes. But I just want you to catch that they're trying to, and thank you for the love, they're trying to mask their crime and trying to tell you when you don't listen to their legalese that you're the criminal. That's not how it works. It's only how it works if you don't have faith, because works without faith is DOA, just like faith without works is. So I'm just saying, obey the law. Learn the law, learn the statutes and against the law, learn what statutes you should follow, learn what it is to be private, learn what it is to use your EIN instead of your social security number, which, by the way, lawfully speaking, that's a crime. Why are they forcing you to use your social security number when by law, it is illegal for somebody to ask you to identify using your social security number? But your bank tells you not only to use that, but then they create a straw man to where they get you to sign yourself on microprint, which is not a line. When you sign your check, you're signing on something else. Read what it says. Look it up. Look up what the microprint on your check is and what you're agreeing to as you agree to sign on top of it to your straw man in all caps, that the bank in all caps, the front as well. You got a front and a front, a straw man and a straw man bank owned by a family, right, that are having conversation with each other so that the family who owns the bank can't get in any trouble for fleecing you, and that you have given every right to identify with your straw man so you get in trouble and they fleece you. So the bank that fleeces you can't get fleeced back, but you attach yourself to your straw man. That's a crime. At least it should be in the eyes of the people. But even crime is currency. Like we said, they make money off of crime. So crime is currency. I know you want to talk about cryptocurrency. I know you want to talk about the dollar. I know you want to talk about which one is it? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, BRICS. And theirs is coming up. I know you want to talk about all this stuff, but see, you are currency, and watch this. Your work is currency, and enslaving you is currency, and taxing you is currency, and crime is currency. More money is made off of crime than a whole bunch of other stuff. Shoot, they sell the CEOs sell drugs to criminals. I mean, what you thought this was? The CEOs work for some of the criminals that are in there because the criminals make enough money to where they can still have conjugal visits and do all types of other stuff. Security officer, look up studies on CEOs, correctional officers who are female who work in prisons that get impregnated by the prisoners, who get in trouble for bringing in balloons. If you don't know how the balloons work, balloons inserted into the vagina or inserted into the anus. And then they do the conjugal visit, or not even conjugal visit, they just do a visit, and then they slip it into their bag of chips, and then they take it from the bag of chips, and the person swallows it and takes it in so that they might be able to out it out of their rectum when they get back inside, so that they can go ahead and keep selling the drugs and making money. Like, this is crime. It's all crime. People looking the other way sometimes, but it's all crime. Yeah, you seen it? Yeah, it's crime. Crime is currency. Crime ain't going nowhere. This is why you have to come out of their ways. You have to separate yourself. You have to be greater than that. You have to say, greater is he that's in me than he that's in them. People say, I don't want to turn to a life of crime, but you're being governed by criminals. At some point, you got to just say, it's enough is enough. That being said, like I said, I got to get ready for marital coaching tonight. Thank you guys so much for being on. I appreciate the king and queen, each and every one of you. Even if you're not living inside that kingdom or queendom yet, I appreciate the potential king and queen in each and every one of you. As always, we give all honor to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree, and we're thankful and grateful for your support of her. Thank you to everybody who's been with us all day. Some of you have been with us at early rise of Bible study session, the live session, phone calls in between, and you came on this evening. Please check out Sister Latoya, not only on TikTok, but also she has some stuff on Facebook. I tried to share some of it if you don't already follow her on there. Thank you so much for being with us today, SOC. We appreciate you. I will see you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. And outside of that, as always, make sure that you remember that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace.